Let's look at rigid bodies and passive colliders. And so I've made these elements, and you can see that nothing is really touching, but it's close together. And what I want to have is these objects fall on top of this surface, and then let gravity kind of hit it and see how they react and how they bounce. And so make sure you're in the FX submenu. And so first we have to decide what we want to have moving and what we want to have still. And so I want to have these objects moving for sure, and maybe this one too, but I want my cube and my backdrop to be still. So I'll select first my moving objects, and then I'll go to Fields and Solvers, and I'll create an active rigid body. So an active rigid body is anything that will be affected by fields such as gravity and forces. And so I've created this. And now I'm going to select the things I don't want to have moving and go back and select Create Passive Rigid Body. And then the one last step we would need to do is select all of our objects in our scene and assign gravity to them. So under Fields and Solvers, select Gravity. And let's play back our animation and see what happens. It's going really fast because I had play every frame on my playback speed, but if I go to 30 frames per second and we play this again, it'll go much slower. So you'll see now that how my objects are sliding, and the only ones that were affected were my active rigid bodies, right? And now let's go to their properties. So for example, if I wanted to have this ball be the heaviest one out of my 3 elements, I could assign the mass to be maybe 8 times stronger. And so if we play this again, you'll see that this ball is behaving way different than these. It's not even bouncing. You can also assign things like friction and how bouncy it is, but you can try moving those settings around. If you wanted to experiment a little bit, you could maybe change the direction of your gravity. So by default, gravity is obviously going in Y, but what if we sent it over to Z instead of Y? So things would go in a different direction. I'm going to bring this back. So again, you can come up with ideas of how you could imagine working with passive colliders and rigid bodies.